The Bloodline story is one of the best things going on in WWE today and one of the greatest stories in the world of professional wrestling. Ever since Roman Reigns won the Universal Champion at Payback in 2020, the Bloodline story has thrived and elevated what it is to be a story in the world of WWE. This story has not only elevated Roman Reigns into superstardom, but it has also elevated many other WWE superstars like main event Jey Uso, who is now one of the most over stars on the roster, Sami Zayn, who is currently the IC champion after defeating one of the greatest, if not the greatest intercontinental champion of all time, and a record reign in Gunther, who held it for 666 days. Solo Sikoa, who went from being street champion to the enforcer of the bloodline to now cosplaying as the tribal chief, keeping the chair warm for the head of the table, and many other stars too. Anyway, today we will be going over my fantasy booking for the Bloodline 2.0 Civil War. Let's get into it, shall we? This booking starts at the recording of this video next week's SmackDown, the SmackDown before SummerSlam. At this SmackDown, we are scheduled to have a tag team championship match between the Bloodline, Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga, taking on the current tag team champions Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, DIY. We are! On paper, if this is a clean match, this DIY does not stand a single chance against the Bloodline, and that is exactly why I think some shenanigans are bound to happen. Because if we pay attention to this era of the WWE, there are very few transitional champions who lose their titles after only one or two defenses. Most champions tend to have a longer reign, and that is why I don't think DIY are losing this match. And I think if DIY have the opportunity to hold on to the tag team titles, they can not only elevate themselves and finally get the pop that they so desperately deserve, but they can also elevate a very lacking and thin tag team division. So for next week's SmackDown, I think we are going to see the return of Mr. No Yeet himself, Jimmy Uso, who will finally get revenge on Tama Tonga, who took him out a long time ago. And Jimmy Uso will obviously cost the Bloodline the tag team title. The very next day is SummerSlam, and what match is going to take place at SummerSlam? Cody Rhodes taking on Solo Sikoa for the undisputed WWE champion. The only reason to have this match main event SummerSlam ahead of Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley and CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre is because we are going to see a big return. We are more than likely going to see the return of the tribal chief, Roman Reigns, and I 100% see Roman Reigns spearing Solo Sikoa, costing him the match, and putting Cody Rhodes' body over Solo so that Cody Rhodes retains the title. Now, I understand that by having Jimmy Uso return only one day before Roman Reigns, his return is most definitely going to be overshadowed by the tribal chief, but that is bound to happen either way. And I don't think it's the best idea to have both of them return at SummerSlam because Roman would overshadow Jimmy just so much more. Having Jimmy return at SmackDown, even if it is only one day before Roman, gives him that pop for himself before we get that monstrous pop at SummerSlam for the head of the table. Now, on the next SmackDown, Roman Reigns would challenge Solo Sikoa to a match at Bash in Berlin, and because Solo likes to call himself the tribal chief now, it will be for the title of tribal chief. However, at this point, the only person that would be by Roman Reigns' side would be Paul Heyman. And I want to quickly say that Roman Reigns will not be a babyface in this case. He will very much be an anti-hero because Roman Reigns should not be a babyface ever again, in my opinion. At the same time, main event Jey Uso will be traded over to SmackDown because there is nothing for the biggest star on Raw to do anything on Raw except liking Rhea Ripley at this point, and the storylines for Jey Uso are waiting on SmackDown. And the person who would get traded over to Raw would be AJ Styles and the OC if necessary, because again, there is nothing for them to do there because AJ Styles have already had the matches with Cody Rhodes. He doesn't have anything to do on SmackDown, so just send him over to Raw. Jey Uso would come back to SmackDown and reunite with Jimmy Uso after saving him from the new Bloodline, but they both make it clear that they want nothing to do with Roman Reigns after everything you put them through for the last 4 years. So going into Bash in Berlin, Roman goes in alone with Paul Heyman, of course, while Solo goes in with Tama Tonga, the infamous Tonga Loa, and Jacob Fatu all sitting backstage. This is the perfect opportunity to give Roman Reigns a taste of his own medicine by having him lose by outside interference, and I would go as far as to have Solo Sikoa defeat Roman Reigns and officially become the Tribal Chief. We need to have Solo Sikoa feel like a big deal after everything he's done for the WWE for the last few months. And the biggest way to have him feel like a big deal is to have him defeat the Tribal Chief, the head of the table, the biggest star in all of WWE, Roman Reigns. So now Solo Sikoa is officially the Tribal Chief of the Bloodline. I would also have Bloodline 2.0 give Roman the beating of his life so that the Usos have no choice but to come to the aid of their cousin. This is where the OG Bloodline would reunite and Roman would hug the both of them at the same time. All of this would lead to a 6-man tag team match between the OG Bloodline taking on the new Tribal Chief Solo Sikoa, the right-hand man Tama Tonga, and the enforcer Jacob Fatu. During this time, I would also have Tama Tonga and either Tonga Loa or Jacob Fatu dethrone DIY to finally become the tag team champions. Because of the numbers game at Bad Blood, I would have the new Bloodline pick up the win because again, you need to have the new Bloodline feel like a big threat, and we are building towards a very much bigger match. All of this will lead to a big War Games match between the new Bloodline and the OG Bloodline, with the honorary Uso himself, Sami Zayn, coming in to help them. At Survivor Series, the OG Bloodline will finally defeat the new Bloodline, but the victory won't last long. Because at Survivor Series, I see the final boss finally make his long-awaited return, distract the OG Bloodline and Roman Reigns, giving the new Bloodline plenty of time to gather themselves and beat them up. And here they would reveal that the final boss himself has been pulling all of the strings, with the new Bloodline acknowledging The Rock. At the following SmackDown, I see Solo Sikoa give up the Tribal Chief title to The Rock, so The Rock is now officially the Tribal Chief. All of this will lead to the biggest match of all time, but before that, The Rock challenges Cody Rhodes for the WWE Champion at the Royal Rumble. And for the record, the OG Bloodline are not there, they are on the shelf after they got beat up. So Royal Rumble, finally, the final boss taking on Cody Rhodes for the WWE Undisputed Champion. I don't want to see this match at WrestleMania because there are 2 other big money matches that you can have at the Showcase of the Immortals, one of them being Cody Rhodes taking on his former mentor and brother, Randy Orton. And the other match we will get to very soon. I have a feeling you see where I'm going with this. At the Royal Rumble, Roman Reigns returns again and costs The Rock the undisputed WWE Champion. This will lead to the biggest match of all time between the final boss, The Rock, the Tribal Chief, The Rock, taking on Roman Reigns for the title of Tribal Chief. And at WrestleMania, I also see the Usos take on the new Bloodline for the Tag Team Champions, and I would go as far to have the Usos finish their story and finally reclaim the tag team titles after so long of being apart. And at WrestleMania, the biggest match of all time, Roman Reigns will obviously defeat The Rock to finally reclaim the title of Tribal Chief. This is where Roman Reigns picks up a microphone, commands everybody to acknowledge him, and everybody puts up the one. I'm done yapping. Bye.